Hey guys, you're watching Guitar Shop TV. Coming up on this episode, we travel to the one and only Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio for an exclusive look at some of their amazing rock artifacts. This is Guitar Shop TV, the show that takes your axe to the max. Hey guys, here in Cleveland, Ohio at the one and only Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Jason Hanley. Jason, welcome back to the show. We have here a great Flying V. Now this is not a Gibson, this is a...
That's right, it's not a Gibson Flying V. It's a little bit of a mixed up guitar with a Flying V body, but a different neck added on. And this is a really great instrument that was played by Randy Rhoads and originally put together by Karl Sandoval in 1979.
Wow, look at that.
And, you know, this has become the instrument that is the kind of iconic image of Randy Rhoads playing guitar, right? I mean, if you look at the Ozzy Osbourne, Randy Rhoads tribute album cover, right, which a lot of players will remember, all those great live cuts, this is the guitar Randy's playing on that cover. So.
Amazing. Was he using this during the Quiet Riot days?
Yeah, that's right. So Randy Rhoads, of course, comes from Quiet Riot in the LA scene, the kind of hair metal bands coming out of there. And again, this kind of look and style of the white polka dot on the black guitar kind of becomes a little bit of that. And this exact combo here, we've got an outfit that Randy would have worn on stage too. He originally played this guitar and wore that outfit with Quiet Riot, but when Ozzy Osbourne steals him away to come play in the Blizzard of Oz band, we get Randy still playing this instrument.
Amazing.
And it's a great, there's some really cool details about this too that I like. I mean, I've always had heard about before I saw the guitar here that he had the kind of bow tie inlay on the instrument because, you know, that became very famous, but if you look really close, you can see the added inlay that Sandoval did is actually only the kind of outside of the bow tie. The dots are the actual dots from the original neck that was put on here.
Look at that.
So it's not a completely new inlay, it was just actually expanding what was there already.
That's very clever.
Right, isn't that pretty cool? It brings a great new design to the instrument without having to change too much of what was there.
Very, very cool.
You know, the other famous story is that supposedly very early on after Randy got this instrument, he broke the headstock off the top of it there. But Sandoval actually redid the instrument and repainted it and put it all back together for him. So there are a lot of famous stories about the instrument going out of tune because of that. But if you've ever seen Randy Rhoads playing this live, it didn't seem to go out of tune that much for the way he really put the instrument to the test.
Amazing. Well, that is a great, great axe.
Yeah, just a beautiful guitar, and again, one of those instruments that instantly when visitors come into the museum here and see it, if you were a fan of that 80s hair metal, you're going to know this instrument right away, and many people come up here and are really moved by seeing something like this in the exhibit. And you know, when we say treasures from the vault, this really again is one of those treasured instruments. Because of course Jackson goes on to make a bunch of Flying V style guitars later on that Randy Rhoads even used and played, but this one's that original instrument that he had when he first started playing that Flying V style.
Amazing. You know, for our viewers around the world, guys, if you haven't been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in Cleveland, it is so well worth the visit. I mean, this is just one kind of iconic reference point to a whole era in rock, and the information and the stories and the icons they have here at the Hall of Fame are just amazingly deep.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we really try and do here at the museum too, is not just showcase some great instruments, but give people who come in here, whether they're fans or just people who have some interest, to give them the history of the music.
Right.
So that they're getting a sense of why this would be important, why an instrument like this, it's more than just this instrument. It's that whole history of the music and how it changed at different points in history and where it went to.
Hey everybody, Guitar Shop TV is coming to you today from the one and only Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio, USA. And we're delighted today to be joined by Todd Messick. Todd, welcome to Guitar Shop TV.
Thanks.
So happy you're here. Now, Todd, of all the exhibits in the museum, this one is particularly special.
We're here in the Architects of Rock and Rolls exhibit on the second floor of the museum, and you really can't take a deep look at guitars without starting and ending with Les Paul.
Absolutely.
And he's really fundamental part of this exhibit, and it's been a pleasure for us to have been able to engage with Les and hear the stories and understand the thought process that went through his head when he was actually creating the the electric, solid body electric guitar. So you wouldn't get that power, electricity, raw energy that you get out of an electric guitar if it wasn't for Les Paul. And he took a railroad tie, broke out the microphone element from his mother's telephone, put it together just to test the concept. And once he could get this railroad to string a guitar string, to put the element in there, and to get a sound to come out of some speakers, once he was able to prove that concept, Les then thought, I've got it. I've solved the problem. I've got it. So when Les comes to us and he talks about this concept, he tells us there's this 4x4 block of wood that he kind of uses to prove the next concept. But another interesting thing happens to him. He said he got on stage and he plays this 4x4 block of wood with a neck attached to it. And to hear Les tell it, he didn't quite get booed off the stage, but people were clearly puzzled. At this point, the shape of the guitar is purely aesthetic, but people were uncomfortable seeing a guy play a block of wood, but when he put these wings on it, it was acceptable. People knew what he was playing. It wasn't a freak. So he continued to hone this concept, and really kind of understand that Les was a genius beyond measure. Really had a passion for the music, and really was thoughtful and methodical in his process of taking the guitar from an instrument that stood behind the rest of the band, and in his words was timid, to becoming the bedrock of rock and roll music as it is today.
Amazing.
Yeah, so Les is, again, he's kind of keeps honing it to something that resonates, to something that can be easily amplified, something that's practical to wear. Because even though the Les Paul is a heavier instrument than most, he needed to move from heavy, thick wood and steel to something that could actually be carried on stage, or worn around your shoulders for hours on end.
I guess this is the first solid body prototype, huh?
Yeah, that's right. And you see that's kind of the defining look, and more or less the look that we know from Les Paul today. But yeah, that's where it started. And Gibson, God bless them, understood the power of the electric guitar. I think they were very thoughtful to that. Who knows what was going through their heads, but I think it's safe to say that people understood that this was an important development, and were looking to create that, as you say, signature, that iconic image. Because really, I mean, there's two guitar images, and one of them's a Les Paul.
Right, sure. Hey guys, welcome back to Guitar Shop TV. We're here in Cleveland, Ohio at the one and only Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're delighted today to be speaking with Greg Harris. Greg, welcome back to Guitar Shop TV.
Welcome to Cleveland.
So great to be here. Now, Greg is going to share with us today a couple of icons from the museum's wonderful collection of vintage and iconic guitars. So what do we have here today, Greg?
Well, when you asked me to pick a guitar to talk about, the first one I thought of was this weather-beaten piece down here.
Wow, now look at this.
That belonged to none other than Elmore James.
Wow.
And the reason that I picked this guitar was because it's got the years and the grit and the feel, but Elmore James is one of the guys that took country blues, electrified it, and gave us some of the roots of rock and roll. My connection to Elmore James is, as a kid growing up in Philadelphia, one of our local heroes was George Thorogood.
Sure.
So George Thorogood and the Destroyers, their first album comes out. I'm 12, it's getting played on the radio all the time. And there were 2 songs on there by Elmore James. And I said, who is this guy? So I went from rock and roll, I dug into the blues. Pretty soon it was Elmore James, it was Howlin' Wolf, it was John Lee Hooker, all that river of things that you opened up when you went to. Once you dove through that river, you found out it sounds like the Rolling Stones.
Right.
Keith Richards got this too. The story is that it was in a record store in Harlem, New York, and it was stored in the basement for many, many years. Now, he did record in New York in the late 50s. And that album came out in 1960, and it has that great iconic song, The Sky is Crying.
Right.
And it was on that album in 1960. At Newport, Jimi Hendrix throws in a little bit of The Sky is Crying. And we all know that George Thorogood does it, Stevie Ray, all the guys. Sure. One would like to think that was the guitar that recorded it. We can't say for sure, but if this was in New York at that time, and it was truly owned by him.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Guys like Elmore James were kids. They started playing a diddly bow, a single string, a piece of wire stretched, and they would play that and get sounds out of it. But these other guys would come to town, They'd play, whether it was on a porch or at a juke joint. People would dance. It was one guitar player entertaining everybody, and then slowly that country blues picked up steam, and it picked up more instruments, more percussion. And Elmore James is noted as possibly one of the first, even before Muddy Waters, to add drums to his band. And we all know the Muddy Waters litany of songs.
Sure.
Well, Elmore James, that iconic sound from the song Dust My Broom, anybody that's watching this that's a guitar player knows that sound. And that's him, Elmore James through and through. Unlike Muddy and Howlin' Wolf, Elmore James never really had a standard band. He was a bit of an itinerant musician. He played where he did. He played with a combo or he played solo. Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, Willie Dixon, guys like that, got connected to Chess Records. They were in a house band, and they really had a wonderful, a busy career with Little Walter and really greats like that. But Elmore James never really had that status. But he is one of the greatest, and this is a beautiful, beautiful example of a piece that speaks to me of the Mississippi Delta. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame isn't about a bunch of skinny guys with long hair and guitars. It's this whole river of music that creates rock and roll. You've got gospel, you've got blues, you've got folk, you've got, you know, the Delta blues. All of it comes together here, and all of the artifacts that tell that story are located right here in Cleveland, Ohio at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So if you're a fan and you want to get up close, you want to actually see the artifacts that made the music, you want to see the lyric sheets that were the original writings of these artists, this is the place to see it. And what's interesting, as you walk around the museum, you realize that it's in your soul. It's in your DNA. When you see something, I'm looking across the room at a Hank Williams suit, you realize, I know a lot of Hank Williams songs, and when you hear it, it's familiar. When you walk around, it's familiar. When you see stuff like this, you realize that this connected with me as a 12-year-old kid here in George Thorogood on WMMR in Philadelphia. And now I'm standing next to something that was the original guitar to make this sound. It's pretty remarkable.
We really appreciate you sharing your time with us today.
My pleasure. Keep spreading the word.
Don't miss it. We're here today with Meredith Rutledge from the Rock Hall of Fame. Meredith, welcome to Guitar Shop TV.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. Meredith, there's so many great, iconic instruments here at the Hall of Fame.
This one belongs to one of my favorite bass players, Adam Clayton, from the amazing group U2. And it's a pretty incredible instrument. It was custom built for him by the R.Rhoads company, and it's one of two. And it was made specifically for the Pop Mart tour. U2 really was trying to sort of outdo their Zoo TV tour, which had been in 1994, the world tour that was just full of multimedia extravaganza. For pop, they kind of went in a different direction, and they decided that they were going to really talk about pop art and the sort of combination of pop art and commerce. They used a number of different kinds of symbols, sort of pop art symbols that were themes, sort of the show. And one was the Golden Arch of McDonald's. And they kind of stylized it so, you know, they weren't ripping off somebody's trademark. And that's why the bass guitar has that arch
very interesting.
Like that.
Please come and visit this wonderful museum here in Cleveland, Ohio. It is so well worth a visit. I mean, frankly, you could spend months here and just scratch it, wouldn't you say? I mean, I've
worked here for 14 years, and I'm always learning or seeing something new.
Now, how could viewers around the world also stay in touch or stay connected with the Rock Hall of Fame?
Our website is rockhall.com, and we have photographs of what's going on in the museum in terms of the exhibits, also the events that go on, our educational programs. www.rockhall.com. Check it out.
That's great. And Guitar Shop TV is so proud to be partnering with the Rock Hall in creating this wonderful content. Meredith, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.